Behind closed doors, a private MotoGP test has triggered a wave of concern inside Yamaha. And today, we're breaking down exactly what Toprak Razgatlıoğlu discovered that has the factory on edge. In recent weeks, Yamaha conducted a confidential evaluation of its next-generation MotoGP machine, inviting Toprak Razgatlıoğlu to deliver feedback before the team finalizes its 2026 development direction. While closed-door tests aren't unusual, the reaction coming out of this particular session has raised eyebrows across the paddock. According to sources familiar with the run, the combination of Toprak's aggressive riding style and Yamaha's evolving prototype produced unexpected data, the kind that prompts swift internal meetings and technical reassessments. Toprak, known for extracting the maximum from any bike placed beneath him, reportedly pushed the prototype harder than Yamaha anticipated for an early-phase run. And although his pace impressed onlookers, the deeper story lies not in speed, but in what the numbers revealed about Yamaha's underlying structural challenges. Analysts now suggest this test didn't just evaluate a rider's transition from Superbike machinery to MotoGP. It exposed a potential weak point in Yamaha's long-term project, one the competitor teams will be keenly watching. As we examine the outcomes, one thing becomes clear. This wasn't an ordinary test day, this was a wake-up call. And yet, the real turning point only begins with Toprak's arrival in the paddock. Toprak enters this new chapter carrying the reputation of a multi-time world Superbike champion, a rider whose signature late-breaking heroics have defined an era in production racing. But stepping into MotoGP machinery introduces an entirely different challenge, one Yamaha hoped to assess before making key technical commitments for the upcoming season. From the moment he arrived at the facility, the focus was clear. Evaluate how quickly Toprak could adapt to the prototype platform and determine whether his riding style aligns with Yamaha's long-term engineering philosophy. According to internal reports, engineers observed Toprak's approach with particular interest, noting the precision of his braking points and the intensity of his corner entry technique. His demeanor throughout the day reflected a disciplined, analytical mindset more commonly associated with seasoned MotoGP veterans than first-phase testers. And while Yamaha publicly frames the session as a routine evaluation, privately the team acknowledges it was a defining moment. The first measurable indicator of whether Toprak's future in MotoGP is a competitive reality or an ambitious experiment. His initial feedback proved informative, but the implications stretched well beyond adaptation. Because the real story emerged once Yamaha began analyzing the data logged during his runs. Yamaha organized this behind-closed-doors test with minimal publicity, positioning it as a routine opportunity for engineers to gather baseline data. But once reports surfaced describing Toprak Razgatlıoğlu's unusually intense approach, it became clear this session carried more weight than the phrasing, private evaluation suggested. According to individuals present at the track, Toprak pushed through his laps with a level of commitment rarely seen in early development runs, at one point expressing that he wanted additional tire mileage, an unusual request that signaled both eagerness and curiosity about the machine's limits. His pace quickly drew attention, not because of headline-level lap records, but because of the consistency with which he attacked each corner. Yamaha engineers monitored every segment meticulously, and while early impressions were positive, the broader takeaway was more complex. The data showed that Toprak was able to adapt quickly in some areas, yet certain mechanical behaviors of the prototype stood out as areas requiring further refinement. Observers noted that the test wasn't scripted to chase performance, but rather to watch how the motorcycle reacted under pressure from a rider known for testing the boundaries. As Toprak concluded his final outing, Yamaha gathered to review the initial numbers, and it became evident that this quiet day at the circuit would influence upcoming technical decisions. And once analysts reviewed the braking data, Yamaha's greatest concern came sharply into focus. For several seasons, Yamaha has battled narrative pressure surrounding the balance and braking stability of its MotoGP platform. While the engine department has made progress, the chassis and braking relationship has remained under scrutiny from analysts across the series. Toprak's test, intended to evaluate rider compatibility, inadvertently illuminated that these long-standing questions may not be fully resolved. Engineers observed that while straight-line acceleration delivered encouraging signals, The braking zones revealed inconsistencies that would require immediate attention. Toprak, known for extracting performance through ultralate braking, provided Yamaha with an unusually sensitive benchmark. His ability to sense instability or hesitation at corner entry allowed the team to identify areas where rigidity, load transfer, and brake feel responses differed from the expected baseline. These findings did not suggest catastrophic issues, but they did indicate that Yamaha's development timeline may need to accelerate if they intend to meet competitive expectations before the 2026 season. Internally, this test served as both a reality check and a valuable diagnostic moment. Externally, Yamaha has remained measured, offering no public indication of concern. Still, those familiar with the team's historical challenges recognize the significance of the test's outcome. And with Yamaha now reviewing these findings, the attention turns to how their rivals might interpret the implications. In MotoGP, information spreads rapidly. Even tests meant to remain internal generate more discussion than teams would prefer. Once Toprak's feedback circulated through industry channels, competing manufacturers immediately began analyzing what Yamaha's difficulties might mean for the upcoming season. Ducati, KTM, Aprilia, and even Honda have spent years refining the balance between braking stability and corner entry responsiveness, areas essential for modern race success. Yamaha's apparent hesitation in this zone has already been a focal point among technical experts, but Toprak's test offered fresh context, reinforcing that the challenge persists despite ongoing development. Rival engineers are acutely aware that Toprak's aggressive braking style is uniquely capable of exposing weaknesses. If the machine cannot accommodate such a riding profile, it could indicate structural limitations that will carry into future races. While Yamaha continues to project confidence publicly, competitors are undoubtedly monitoring the situation to determine whether this test signals a vulnerability they can exploit. Off-track strategists recognize that development gaps early in the year often reveal themselves during the opening races, and the data emerging from this test may influence how teams prepare their own upgrades. The paddock now waits to see whether Yamaha can correct these issues before the season intensifies. And as Yamaha navigates the technical fallout, Toprak himself faces a far more personal challenge. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu enters this transition with an impressive resume, but success in Superbikes doesn't guarantee immediate momentum in MotoGP. This behind-closed-doors test provided his first opportunity to measure expectations against reality, and insiders say he approached the day with notable determination. Reports from the circuit indicate that Toprak was highly engaged with the technical staff, asking precise questions about the engine map, the electronics behavior, and how the chassis responded to rapid load changes. His decision to push harder in later sessions, even expressing interest in extending track time, demonstrated both ambition and an eagerness to accelerate his learning curve. Yet this intensity also reflects the pressure he faces. Moving from a championship-winning position in Superbikes to a developmental role in MotoGP involves trade-offs, and Toprak is aware that expectations will be high from the moment he officially joins the grid. His ability to adapt to the prototype platform will shape Yamaha's trajectory as much as his own. At the same time, Yamaha sees him as a potential catalyst for long-term improvement, relying on his precision and instinct to identify areas needing refinement. This dynamic creates a partnership defined by both opportunity and risk, with Toprak positioned at the center of Yamaha's rebuilding efforts. And now, as the technical team evaluates the data and prepares for the next test phase, the larger question becomes how Yamaha will respond to what Toprak uncovered.